extra, read all about it. Get your copies while they last. Stop the presses.
And now for something completely different.
Are you ready for a little truth? Are we not entertained? Wisdom is the proper use of knowledge and experience. There are no safe spaces here. The truth shall make you free. It's showtime! So you want the truth, but can you handle the truth? Well, here's another fine mess you've gotten us into. Now that's entertainment. Enlighten me a little. What you say is quite logical. And what did we learn? Prepare yourself for a little sensory overload. I came here for the truth. 7 years ago, stand by the Roll Show intro. Roll Show intro in 3, 2, 1, go.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.
Hello, America, family, friends, and listeners all around this planet we call home. This is the Craig L. Hayes Show. I am Craig L. Hayes, and it is good to have you here. This is the 5th of December, 2024. I already did one podcast a little earlier. I was a little bit annoyed and irritated, and this one we're not going to do so. I do have these passions that run pretty hard and heavy about liberty, freedom in our Constitution, and when I see them just constantly being violated, I have a problem. And I speak my mind on it because I am an American, and I'm allowed to say what I think and believe what I believe, and that's what I do. And you should too. Anyhow, today's topic and subject is going to be called the role of the church. Role of the church. Okay. Could be a religious thing, but it's not. I'm going to talk about the Constitution and a couple things about the role of the church and what's the actual role within our nation. And it could be any church, and I'm not going to specify any single one church. I'm going to just include all churches under the title church. Anyhow, I'm going to read the part of the First Amendment that's very important. How important was this amendment? Okay, the First Amendment has many parts to it. There's 5 parts to it. But the first part of the First Amendment is about the church. It's about religion. Religion was the first thing that had to be brought up. Not free speech, not all these other things. It was religion. And it says, Congress shall make no law, respecting and establishment of religion or prohibit the free exercise thereof. Congress shall make no law establishing. Establishing is the very important part in this thing. Establishing. That's what we're going to talk a little bit about. And how these people that want religion moved from every aspect of government are so blind and ignorant. Why did our founders include this in the Constitution? Why was it so important that we not have an official? That's all it means when it says Congress shall not establish a religion, basically, is all they're saying. Our founders did not want a religion established by the government, or at that time it was the king. Because we already saw how it affected England, where we broke away from. You had the King of England, who was basically, in many ways, the head of the Anglican or Church of England. and they were intertwined. What the king said, the church did. What the church wanted, the king would say yay or nay to it, and thumbs up, thumbs down, controlled it completely. And so you had two aspects. You had the people had to obey the king's commands, and you had the church saying God has ordained him. God has decided he is the guy you're supposed to be listening to, and we support him because we are your religious leaders, and we're right between God and you, and we're telling you what God is trying to tell everybody, that, listen to him. That's bad. It's wrong. We can't do that. And our founding fathers knew that. We could not have the intertwining of government and the head of the official religion working together to tell people what they had to do. And tell them that on top of that, that God had ordained it to be so. That's why they said, nope, no establishment of religion. We will not have a Church of the United States of America. We will not have a Church of America. We will not have a Church of the United States. We won't have the North American Church of whatever. We will not have that. But please, please look at this carefully and understand that just because the Constitution forbids Congress, now, who is Congress? That is the House of Representatives, the Senate, from establishing it. Do you see anywhere within the Constitution and what it said right there that there shall not be an establishment of religion or a church or any such thing by Congress, meaning the government of the United States, that prohibits the states from having an official religion? Can anybody show me that? Can anybody show me that states are not allowed to have official religions? No such thing. No such thing. Would it surprise you to know that many of our founding fathers lived in states in their lives after the Constitution? Now remember, this is the important part. After they had instituted the Constitution of the United States, they lived in states that had official religions. It wasn't religion. It wasn't one of those things you have to belong to this, but they recognized, their state legislature said, we recognize the Presbyterians as Presbyterian as ours. When one state could say we were Methodists, one state could say we're Catholic. We recognize the Catholics being the official state religion. No one had to apply to it. No one had to go and become a Catholic, a Protestant, a Presbyterian, or any such thing. In Utah, it would be like, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormons, that would be the official religion. But it doesn't mean everybody has to, be that. It just means it's recognized as it. It's like your state bird is, a certain thing, a state flowers, or a certain state tree, a state park, whatever you want to call it. It's just an official title. Doesn't mean anything as far as forcing people to comply and be a part of it. It does not mean that that religion will control that legislature or that state either. It's just a simple thing. I think it's very unnecessary to do such a thing. It's one of those things that I think would divide people more than it would unite them. But at the same time, there's nothing constitutional that says they can't do it. But that's not the point of this thing. I'm trying to give you a little background and understanding on people who sit there that are so woefully, and I mean just woefully ignorant about trying to always say that there has to be a church separation of church and state. Oh well, you can't put a nativity scene on the city hall's property. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. You know what you can also do? You can sit there and have religious expression all over your city hall. You know what you can't do? You can't have Congress establishing a religion. It's a one-way street. You can't have Congress, the federal government, telling people that this is the religion of our nation and you have to comply. It's not saying that at all. It's a one-way street saying the people that are religious can participate and show their religious beliefs and express them, because we also have the freedom of expression, the freedom to worship and not be prohibited from worshiping, which includes property owned by the taxpayers, or the people who go to church are allowed to take and show their beliefs in those public areas. But I want to say this. I think there should also be very inclusive on everybody able to show things. And people say, well, what about Satanism? Well, okay, if you're a believer of Satanism, I think you should be allowed to say what you want to say too. I don't have a problem with you believing what you want to believe, as far wacky as it is or whatever. You know, you people who are into the Sierra Club and the rest of these things, you worship trees. Go hug the tree, worship it. I'm good with that. Go worship that tree. But don't tell me I have to and comply with what you want. That's all I'm saying. Atheists, it's not hurting anything. And you people who try to stop all religious expression, Satanists included, that want all religious expression removed, and you call yourselves the separation of church and state, from all these things, it doesn't work. There's nothing there that says it does. We got to get back to reading the Constitution. We got to get back to doing things the way they're supposed to be done. We've got to get back to where we understand the Constitution and understand that how things we think work a certain way do not actually work that way. So, anywho, so the ignorant need to be educated, the people need to understand it, and everyone needs to read the Constitution and understand what it actually says, instead of believing what a few people say. Show me anywhere in the Constitution says there should be a separation of church and state. Does not say that anywhere. That comes from a letter written between some of the founding fathers, and I think it was Thomas Jefferson said there needed to be a separation of church and state, as they were referring to the Establishment Clause, meaning the state cannot inflict or set up a church. And the two needed to be separated to make sure that they don't have that. Jefferson lived in a state that had an official religion, and I used to know what it was, and I can't think about it right now. I just forgot it. Dang it. Well, when you cross 60 years old, see what happens to your memory. Anyhow, we got to educate people. We got to do a little bit better on this stuff. There was a couple things I wrote down, a couple notes. Oh man, I've gone down this whole page and I didn't even look at this. That was it right there. Okay, so page 2. I did the whole thing and I just now looked at the page. Not a bad thing. So, what is the role of the church in government? And we'll go through a couple things, and I'm just going to explain them real quick, and hopefully we can get this done in just one episode and not have to drag this into 2. I usually try to keep these episodes about 25 to 30 minutes at the most. So, the role of the church is to be the conscience of the state. Governments I'm reading my notes, sorry. Governments are to serve righteous purposes. In other words, churches' responsibilities, their job is to take and tell the government when they're going away from righteous purposes, meaning we'll just use it as our Constitution of the United States. Churches are supposed to sit there and bring it to the attention of people, especially the people, so that the people can take and make their voices heard to their representatives, that the government is going too far in doing something. That's their first responsibility. Their second responsibility, if governments become evil, then the churches are to help the people in any way, shape, form they can to end, what do you want to call it? I'm trying to think of the words. End the persecution, or end the practice of violating people's human and government rights, or not government rights, civil rights. Sorry. That is the role of church. The role of church has a three-pronged thing. Here's the role of them: to be the conscious of the of the government, to point out the evils of government when they go too far, to help people when governments are harming people, and to intercede when they can. And finally, the third thing they're supposed to do, if all else fails, the church is to stand openly against the government. I wish I could say I came up with these myself. I didn't. These principles of the church come from Dietrich Bonhoeffer. This is what he did. This is what he had to fight against when he was fighting against the Nazis. He was trying to tell the Church of Germany, the German church, national church, the German church, and the government were so intertwined together that in World War I, the German church said this is the war that they were in was ordained of God, that they were supposed to be fighting, and the people lost faith in the church. Then then the Nazis come to power, and the church went along with the Nazis for a long time there, and allowed Adolf Hitler to take control of the church so that he could tell the people what they were to worship. The Bible went away because the Bible was too Jewish, and in its place, Mein Kampf, Hitler's book, was put in its place. Pictures of Jesus and statues of Jesus were taken down, and pictures and statues of Hitler were put up. A lot of people say that couldn't happen here. I disagree. I don't think we were that far from having such a totalitarian government being implemented. Joe Biden was doing everything he could to violate people's rights left and right, to destroy the Constitution of the United States. We've already had the government shut down churches because of a bad flu called COVID. a bad flu called COVID. I want to make sure you heard that. It was just a bad flu. It wasn't something that was going to take and wipe the United States clean and clear of people. Spanish flu in 1918 killed, what, 20, 30, 40 million people? This one killed, what, a million people in this country? Yeah, it's not the same people. But the government knew it could take and institute all kinds of controls and violate people's right to go to church. So their First Amendment, the first principle of the First Amendment was violated openly by government. And it was not stopped by a Supreme Court, no matter what was being done. Cowards. What churches, very few, went up and stood up against it and continued having their service, even though a lot of them got fined and all this other thing, but they tried going up against the church. Remember, that is the third principle. The first principle was to try to tell people you can't violate our rights. Second one was to stake and help the people that are being harmed. Third principle is to stand openly against the tyranny of government. Some churches did it. A lot of them rolled over and played dead. Most Christian churches, I think, rolled over and played dead. A lot of other churches, I don't think they really worried about it too much. I find it pretty troublesome knowing that these things were done like this. And so many of what I would call churches, including my own, that went along with this. Instead of standing up and saying, no, you don't violate our rights just because there's a bad flu going around. You don't violate our rights just because someone sneezes. You don't violate our rights just because, the sun came up not quite in the right place today. You don't violate our rights because, two planes flew into two towers in New York. You don't violate our rights for anything. We're the bosses, not you. Your creepy government people are not the bosses. You're there to serve, not to dictate. Leadership. Who out there is going to take the leadership when the government goes too far? What church is going to stand up and base its principles above all else as far as following, we'll just start with Christian, following the gospel of Jesus Christ and following our Constitution over any kind of government interference and antagonization? We don't allow government to tell us what to do. We tell government what to do. We almost lost more chunks of our Constitution had Kamala Harris been elected. Oh, that's pretty drastic. You can't say that. Yes, I can. She already had some things out there that wanted to take and make sure that religions were going to be even further and farther persecuted and stopped from preaching around anything that they believed was other people's rights. That's why we got people going to jail for praying on the sidewalk outside of a what do you want to call it, an abortion clinic. You think they wouldn't put you in jail for disobeying their dictates on religion? You people are out of your minds. President Trump said it. Fight, fight, fight. Don't let these evil people violate your rights. The police will do it. The FBI will do it. Oh, yeah, FBI, just want to make sure you understand. FBI is the Democrat Party Gestapo, just so we get that clear and plain, okay? The Democrat Party Gestapo is the FBI. And no, I'm not afraid of them because they're all a bunch of creepy people anyway, and I'm their boss. You're their boss. Anyhow, stand up. Do not allow these people to tell you what your rights are. You tell them what they're allowed to do. Well, that's about it for this podcast. Until the next time I see everybody or everybody is back listening to this, Talbot, take it away.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.